NABN, New Africa Broadcast Network.
Nigerians in diaspora are doing great things. Anywhere you look, in education, sports, in government, in judiciary, in business, in manufacturing, in entertainment, in politics, you name it. Nigerians always excelled. In the health sector, thousands of Nigerian doctors in the United States are saving lives and improving Americans' healthcare system. According to Stephen Hindle, producer of Fela on Broadway and Finding Fela.
Experience before was pretty limited. I didn't know that many Nigerians. We in the United States, we're blessed to have the Nigerian community here. There are 35,000 doctors in the United States that are Nigerians.
One of them is world-renowned Nigerian-born interventional cardiologist Dr. Oluyemi Badero. His American experience is enlightening, emotional, and inspirational. NABN crew led by Joy Adedeji visited him in his office for an eye-opener interview. You see the glory, we tell the story. Let's watch it.
I'm going to first start by asking you to introduce yourself, tell us what you do and where you started, how you started, and just a background.
My name is Dr. Oluyemi Badero. I'm a board-certified interventional cardiologist. I did training in internal medicine, critical care medicine, general cardiology, and interventional cardiology. I have the academic rank of assistant clinical professor at State University of New York and Brooklyn, Health Sciences Center in Brooklyn. I also have a very busy private practice called Cardiac Specialist of Brooklyn, of which I'm the president and the CEO. I have been in central Brooklyn for the last 26 years. I teach, train doctors, and above all, see patients right here. I was born and raised in Nigeria. I was born in Ibadan. I grew up in Lagos. I went to primary school at St. Peter's Primary School in Lagos. I forgot to mention that when I was in primary school, at the young age of 10, my first academic scholarship was the Barclays Bank of Nigeria scholarship, which was established for the children of the employees. My mother was a lowly secretary typist to some of our bosses, and when that scholarship fund was established, she had entered my name to compete with the rest of the other children in the country, and they gave the scholarship to one person, and I was privileged to get that also at the age of 10, and that was what funded my high school and university education. When I finished in Ife, I did my housemanship in University of Ife. I did my youth service in Lagos. I got to this country in 1988 in February. I took all the 3 steps of the licensure exam just barely 4 months later, and I was lucky to pass everything at one sitting. In the summer of 1989, just 1 year after getting to the United States, I got into the residency training program, and I did 9 consecutive years of postgraduate training. Most doctors do 3. I did 9 in 4 different specialties. And when I finished all my training, the people that trained me at my interventional training in Yale in Connecticut told me that if you were a smart guy, after all this knowledge, you should go back to where you trained and see if you can help the community. So I came back and started my practice here in central Brooklyn, and it's been a very rewarding experience.
Thank you for that. That's an amazing story. So what inspired you to become a doctor?
I remember very well that in St. Peter's Primary School in Nigeria, during the morning devotion one day, they told us the story of Solomon. And Solomon was just a young king of Israel at the time when his father David died. And after God appeared to him in a dream, the only thing he asked from God is wisdom. And God was so impressed with him that you didn't ask for riches, you didn't ask for life of your enemies, and all these worldly things. So Solomon actually was proven through that story to be a very wise man, because God gave him that and gave him all the riches. So when I was in primary 1, that same night when I had the story of Solomon, I was just an average student at the time. I prayed to God that night that, God, please give me the wisdom of Solomon and make me to be very smart. And also, while you're at it, do not forget to find me some popov. Popov was some kind of a fried dough that, as a little kid, you want to have enough food to eat. I came from, a struggling family at the time. As a little kid, I was asthmatic. And I remember that at night, on the days that they tell me to sweep the floor, the dust would get into my nostrils. And in the middle of the night, I wouldn't even know whether I was going to survive or die before the morning come. And in the morning, my mom would take me to General Hospital or to a private doctor, and they used to give us this aminophylline injection. So as a little boy, I was also an asthmatic. So I definitely wanted to be a doctor based on the fact that, I believe education will open doors. I had some little health issues. And when I got into secondary school, I was very good in all the science subjects. I actually had distinctions. I had 9 distinctions when I finished in school. And in those days, if you were top in your class, your teachers would always encourage you to be a doctor. So this was the background. And finally, my father had a friend. I remember this gentleman like yesterday. He was a short guy, bald, and a stutterer. But any time that we were sick, he would come not through the main door. He would come through the back door with his needles and syringes to give us shot on our butt. We used to cry, but he would come in, and when he comes, he would stutter, he will give us the shot, and next morning we're going to get better. So I remember him like yesterday. He was like a magician that comes in the middle of the night, give us a shot, and we get better. There was another doctor friend of my father, Dr. Bandila Lotta, who had a clinic at Central Lagos. And when I had my asthma attack, I go into this aseptic office, smelling all this, this medical solvent, and it will keep on back in the order, Cyclopine 5cc, Pembutrine, and all this stuff. I used to be so enamored with all these names. And I came across a book that had human anatomy, with the brain and the skull and the skeleton. And I used to be so fascinated with that. So these were the foundation of, the things that I did. And my teachers, who were my mentors, also were always encouraging me to be the best in everything that I can be. So all put together, I knew that my calling would be to help other people to become a doctor. And that's why I became a doctor.
So as a young man who came to this country in the 80s, it must have been a big culture shock for you. What were the challenges that you faced as a Nigerian coming into a big country, knowing very little people, but still you were able to make it? What were the challenges that you faced at that time?
Thank you very much. There were a lot of challenges for somebody coming from a place like Nigeria, coming to America without the proper support. If you had the proper support from maybe a sibling, a brother, a sister, somebody close to you, the challenges were there, but nevertheless, would not be, so insurmountable like when you were on your own. When I came in here, the support that I was looking forward to was not there. The person that sent me the papers to come here, who promised me that I wasn't going to, do all these odd jobs, had her own problems, and I couldn't live with the person because she didn't even have a place to stay. I stayed with one of our brothers at Seattle, Washington for 2 weeks. Then I had to leave to another brother in Salem, Oregon for 2 months. And then when the time came for me to also leave that place, because everybody was saying, oh, you can't stay here. Nobody in those days was ready to help you to do anything. I had this challenge of finding a place to stay first, then trying to figure out how I'm going to pass my exams and study for that, how I'm going to be able to make some money to support myself, and how would I be able to navigate my way to get into residency training in the United States when I didn't have any money, I didn't have a job, I didn't have any support. So things were really, really very, very challenging. When I moved to San Jose, California to stay with one of my uncle, he lived in a mobile home and I slept on the floor. He told me from day one that he asked me to come so I can help him to drive a cab. So to be able to make some money and try to fund some of the things that I needed to do, I was driving a car for $12 a day. I used to start off at 5 o'clock in the morning to do our airport run, and then go to pick up a number of fares, and maybe I'll make maybe $6, $7 extra in tips. But things were really, really hard. So the first challenge would be a place to stay. Second challenge would be to make money to fund whatever you need to do. Third challenge would be to navigate and study to be able to pass the exams. Fourth challenge would be to find people that can vouch for you and write you recommendation letters, because it's extremely difficult to get into all of these things. And even more challenge would be a way to be able to have the right papers to stay in the country, because I came as a visitor's visa and I extended the visitor's visa, and eventually I was able to change that into a green card. So there were a lot of challenges, but for somebody that is well determined and who stays focused, it is not impossible.
You are watching. You see the glory. We tell the story. We will be right back.
NABNTV, inspiring a new generation.
My name is Glenna. Welcome to New Africa Broadcasting Network. Welcome to Celebrity in Motion. Today is a very exciting day because guess what? I am honored. Not only because I'm in New York City, but because I have a very special guest.
Oh my God, it's been such a long time.
I know, right? Welcome to Motion TV.
Thank you.
Welcome to Motion, Celebrity in Motion.
Thank you so much. It's one thing to have.
You did mention a couple of challenges, and especially financial challenges. You mentioned being a cab driver. What kind of other menial jobs did you do, and can you elaborate on that?
Okay, when I first came over here and I was in Salem, Oregon, in those days, if somebody gave you an abode or room and board, they would pre-specify the amount of time you can stay with them. This gentleman told me, he's still my friend, that I could only stay with him for 2 months. And I went to look for a job in McDonald's because I just wanted to be able to work there and be able to have some food to eat because I was hungry. And I used to have the type of teddy pendergrass birds all over my face. And when I went in there the first day to get the application, they told me to go shave everything off and come back after I shaved it off. So I went home, I shaved everything off, and when I came there, and they looked at my resume, they told me I was overqualified. I said, I don't care, I would work for free. And then they got scared when I said I was going to work for free. So they chased me away with clubs and sticks. It was a very traumatic experience. And I went to Abby's Burgers, and they said the same thing. And in Burger King, nobody would take me. When I left Salem, Oregon, and my host at the time was not encouraging me to look for a job because then it would mean that I would stay with him even longer. And I moved to San Jose, California, because I found out that I had an uncle that was living there at the time. I didn't have enough money to call him on a payphone because it would be about 80 cents. So I spent 10 cents to buy a postcard and sent him a card. So he sent me the ticket and he picked me up at San Jose Airport, and he told me that he had a cab company, since I already had a driver's license, that I should drive a cab. I remember the first time I picked up my first passenger, a place that says do not enter. I went through that place. The woman yelled blue mother. She called the cops. Oh my goodness, I thought I was going to be deported that same day. So eventually I learned the ropes, and I used to start off at 5 o'clock in the morning to do the airport run. I would pick people up. If they try to strike a conversation and I strike a conversation with them, they will tell me, oh, you sound very intelligent. So are you trying to go to school? And I said, no. Well, come on. I know you guys that come over here. You're driving a cab. You're trying to get your PhD. If I tell them I was actually a doctor, they would not believe me. They would not believe me. So I would drive the cab. I would pick people up. I would maybe make some extra money. I remember very well that most of our clients early in the morning were coming from this 5-star hotel in downtown San Jose called Fairmont Hotel. It's a big hotel in San Jose. They have one in San Francisco also. And when they come down the lobby and I had to take their luggages, I used to look at that hotel and wonder, if I would ever have the means to even walk through the lobby. And believe it or not, exactly 10 years later, after I became an interventional cardiologist and I was a fellow at Bridgeport Hospital, Yale, New Haven, there was a conference for the interventional fellows all over the country. And I was one of the representatives that was picked to represent Connecticut at the time at that conference. And The conference happened to be at San Jose at the time. And when I took the cab ride from the airport going to the same hotel, Fairmont Hotel, I couldn't believe it. I was put in a suite very close to the penthouse at the time. And when the cab driver was taking me there, I was giggling uncontrollably. And when he dropped me in front of that hotel, it was a $20 cab ride. I gave him a $100 tip. And he looked at me and said, "Are you okay? Something wrong with your brain?" I said, "Believe it or not, 10 years before now, I was doing exactly the same thing that you're doing. And I'm going into this hotel as one of the valued guests." This is, prophecy, everything coming full circle. Now, my uncle also had a limousine company. And this is a true story. The limousine company, he had 2 cars. On the weekends when one of the limousine drivers called in sick, he would ask me to drive the limousine. You make a little bit more money on the limousine. Instead of $12 a day for the cab ride, it would be $50 for the limousine. So I was always looking forward to one of the drivers calling in sick. And believe it or not, one day I went and picked up these people. They're all white people. They went to a party from San Jose to a place called Gilroy. And I was sitting down in the car. You have to wait. It's a waiting game, 7, 8 hours. They're paying you per hour. Then they came to call me and they said, "Would you come in and have some food?" And I said, "I'm not allowed to do that." Then they sent one lady who was black. And she said, come on, eat." So I went in, had a little food. Then she asked me, "Would you like to dance?" And I said, "I'm working, I'm not supposed to dance." Then she pulled me on the floor and she was dancing with me. She started asking me questions. And I said, "Well, I'm a limousine." She said, "Now, you look intelligent. Tell me what you really do." And I said, "Okay, if you really must know, I'm actually a doctor." She said, "Yeah, right." Then she started asking me questions on OB. She was a nurse. I didn't know that. She asked me questions on medicine and OBGYN, the menstrual cycle, the ovulation. I destroyed the thing to the lady. She said, "Oh, you are one of those con artists that go to the library to read all these things up because you want to get a date." I said, "Believe it or not, I am a doctor." Then she asked me, "Which school did you go to in Nigeria?" I said, "I went to University of Ife." She looked at me, she sneered in my face. At the end of the night, she took my number, but I knew she wasn't going to call me again. Unknown to me, she lived in Oakland, California. Now there's a small Nigerian community in Oakland, California. There's a gentleman there by the name of Debo Shodipo, who was my classmate in Ife. And we were all in the freshman's year. And as a freshman, the top 5 people got the National Merit Award. I got one, National Merit Award. I got one, he never did. But he came over to this country and he went and did his postgraduate in Stanford. And he destroyed all their record in Stanford in engineering, civil engineering. So this girl knew that Debo went to University of Ife. So the following weekend when she saw Debo, she said, "Oh, I went to one party and I met another one of these 419 boys who was like, they were laughing, ka, 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 ka. The guy is so smooth. He was driving a limousine and he knows how to drive and he knows how to make jokes. He knows how to dance." She said, "Well, but did you at least take his name?" She looked in her pocket and said, "This is his name. His name is Yemi Bedero." And Debo said, No. I know one Yemi Bedero. I don't think he's in this country. He was in Nigeria. We were classmates. He's a very smart guy. And he's really a doctor." The girl goes, "No, it can't be him." Okay? Now this is almost like a story. I was lying down 75 miles away on a Sunday evening on the floor in my uncle's mobile home. They said, "Well, let's try to call him and see." And at that time, I didn't have any friend here. My uncle was a recluse. The phone rang, and I picked up and I said, "City cab." And the man's voice said, "Can I speak to Yemi Bedero?" I said, "Yeah, this is Yemi Bedero." He goes, "Well, this is Debo Shodipo." I said, "Debo?" I jumped up and he was jumping up. The girl couldn't believe it. The guy was jumping up. This is a guy that everybody regarded as the smartest guy in Oakland because he went to Stanford and he did very, very well. So we made an appointment. He never told me where he got my number from. We made an appointment next Saturday to meet. He gave me his address. I looked through I was a cab driver, so I know how to navigate looking at the map. So I showed up at his door. I pressed the doorbell. Nice big apartment building. A far cry from the floor where I live. I went upstairs. He had cooked some food, bought some wine. The girl couldn't believe it. She still thought he has to be somebody else. When I came into the apartment, he came into my house. We hugged each other. Oh, dear boy. And as soon as I walked in the living room, don't I know you from somewhere? She was looking at me with a big shock and amazement. I sat down with Debo. That was the first best night that I had in this country. I had all the food that I wanted. I drank. I felt happy that one of my homeboys has done very well. And that also motivated me. At the end of the night, when I was leaving, it was one of the best nights that I've ever had. And this girl now followed me to the door. And she said, well, I'm so sorry I made all these mistakes about you. And I said, well, this is life. Eventually she wanted me to become a friend of hers. She wanted me to move in with her, and she would buy me a car and try to get me my papers and all this stuff. And I said no. And again, this is almost like something that was in the story, because I never knew Debo was here. He never knew I was here. And through some incredulous chance meeting by somebody who was a total stranger, thinking that I was a 419, I got reconnected with a childhood friend of mine from University of Ife. So I drove a cab for a while. I drove the limousine on weekends. And the next odd job that I did was a medical assistant at the dermatologist's office. When I did my exam, I came here in February. The next exam was in June. If you took all the 3 exams together, you saved $250. I didn't have any money, and actually one person had to give me $200 to add to the money that I had to be able to pay for the whole exam at once. I came in February. I didn't have any review books. I didn't have the money to go for any of those Kaplan courses. But things were so hard, and I was struggling so hard, that I said to myself, I made a covenant with God. I'm going to try to do all this exam one time. And if I flunk it, it means I'm going back to Nigeria, because I can't keep on struggling like this. So when I came in February, the next exam was in June. I put in for the exam. And when I passed the exam, I was looking for a job, because I knew that if I was going to be in medicine, I can't put on my resume that I've been a cab driver. How would anybody take me seriously to put me in medicine when all I've been doing is drive the car? So I started looking for a job as a medical assistant. Every place that I went, they told me I was overqualified. Every place I went, they told me I was overqualified. Then I found this job advertised in the Sunday Times. It was a dermatologist's office in Los Gatos. Los Gatos was a rich suburb of California, Northern California. The doctors there were Dr. David Harris and Richard Nudelman. They were both professors of dermatology in Stanford University. They had their private practice. So I answered the ad. I went in there, they interviewed me. They gave me the job on the spot. I had stopped my resume at the level of bachelor's. And, I was cleaning the rooms, getting the rooms ready. But then, because I was already a trained doctor, I would take the history from the patient before he comes in to see the patient. And then when he comes, I would write the history out to him. And he would say, wow, you took that good history? Yes. Then he went to the nurses and said, how did you find this guy? They said, well, we put an ad in the papers, and he answered. So the guy really, really took a liking to me, that he would not see any patient without Yam. He called me Yam. Yam, let's go see this patient. So I assisted him in some of his surgeries. I assisted him in doing different things. They used to have this procedure called the Mohs surgery, which is a surgery where they excise the skin cancer from the skin. When they excise the skin cancer, it's a new technique where they will take the sections from the edge of the cancer that's been excised, and they look under the microscope to see if there are cancer cells there. It's a very neat technique where they make the slides, they make the pathology slides right there in the OR. They used to pay a pathologist $45 an hour to do that. My salary as a medical assistant was $8 an hour. The guy, knowing that I was so smart, asked me, can you do that thing? I said, give me the manual. I went home, read the manual for the microtome. And I did the slides better than that of the pathologist. So they told the pathologist not to come, and I was doing all the slides for them. I did everything they asked me to do. I cleaned the bathroom, emptied the garbage, anything that needed to be done. I was Mr. Fix-It around the office. There was only 2 guys, and the rest were all Caucasian women that worked in that practice. On Friday, after working for the whole week, we used to go for this happy hour. And after the happy hour, they would bump against me and But my uncle already told me, don't fraternize with them, they're going to lie against you and your career will be over. So I tried to avoid them. I would have some excuse, I would develop a headache. At the end of the night, I would tell them I'm going to my, trailer, mobile home, trailer home. And they said, why do you want to go to your trailer home when you can come home with us, with a nice bed? And I said, no. I will still go back home to my uncle. My immediate supervisor, by the name of Lee, was really upset with me that I was spawning all our advances. Unknown to me, they had some curiosity about African American man, which I learned, after the fact. So she started to set me up. She would tell me that the surgery is going to be at 9 o'clock. She would tell the doctors at 8 o'clock. So when I got there, everybody would be waiting for me, and I was looking bad. And she would say, well, I don't know what he had. I told him what time to come. He's 1 hour late. So she was really trying to set me up. So I had to find another friend within the office who would tell me the time for the surgery. I met one lady, her name was Lisa Finkelman, young lady, and she would call me and say, don't tell Lee that I told you, but she told you to come at 9:30. Everybody's coming in at 8:45. So I used to show up to work on time. And she can't tell me, why are you here? Because she said, what time did I say you to come? I will say the right time rather than the wrong time that she gave me. So one day, I couldn't take it anymore. She had really pushed me so far. And I quietly looked up to her and I said, Lee, under normal condition, I won't be taking orders from you. You'll be taking orders from me. She said, what do you mean by that? She got really upset. She went to Dr. Harris and said, I want you to fire this guy right now. Because she was the nursing manager and she was my immediate boss. So Dr. Harris called me to the office and said, what is going on? Before that time, Dr. Harris was so impressed with me that he had actually offered to write recommendation letters for me to go and become a physician assistant. Mind you, up until this time, all they saw on my resume was that I went to bachelor's, and for my bachelor's, I'm trying to further my studies. So when he called me into the office, I said to him, Dr. Harris, I'm really happy that you gave me a chance when nobody would. When I came to work for you, I didn't tell you a lie, but I didn't tell you the whole truth. I didn't tell you a lie, but I didn't tell you the whole truth. I told you that I had bachelor's, which was the truth. But the whole truth is, I've actually been a doctor. I'm happy that you want to send me to physician assistant school, but I'm already a doctor, because at that time, my results of all my 3 licensing exam steps that I took, all at one sitting, had come out the day before. I reached in my briefcase, and I showed him the results. And he looked at it with awe. One sitting, passed everything in flying colors. Then he went to the general office and said, everybody come to my office within 2 minutes. So my supervisor, who had insisted that I should be fired, thought that they were going to announce that I was going to be fired. Everybody sat down there, and I was sitting down. And he looked at them and said, ladies, I have the pleasure to introduce to you this gentleman sitting down here. One erratic lady, one of, everybody likes her. She used to tell a lot of jokes. She said, oh, we know him. His name is Yam. He ain't no good. He goes, yeah, you know him as Yam. But ladies, let me introduce to you Dr. Oluyemi Badero. Everybody was looking at Dr. Harris like he was demented or deranged or something was not right. Then he looked at them again and said, I'm sure you guys heard me. Dr. Badero, who we call him, has actually been a doctor in Nigeria. He came to our country to further his medical education and maybe do a residency. He knew that if he had told us that he was a doctor, we either would not believe him, or if we do, we would think he's overqualified for this job. And he really wants to work with us, so he did not lie on his resume. He just stopped it at the level of bachelor's. And we're happy that we have him because he's been good to us. All our patients love him. Everybody likes him. How can you not like him? I don't know what's going on between him and Lee, but we're happy to have you here. And Dr. Badero, within 4 months of coming to our country, has done his national board exam, and he passed everything all at one sitting. So ladies, help me to give a round of applause to Dr. Badero for being one of our best employees and for persevering to this point, to the extent that he passed his exam. So from that day on, I still did the work that I needed to do, but the respect was different. And when I was applying for my residency training, Dr. Harris wrote me one of the best letters that I've ever had, which actually got me to my residency training program here in New York.
Challenges that you faced and how you excelled is amazing to me. I know that we're going to have young kids, even doctors who just came from Africa or from Nigeria here who haven't passed their boards, who are going to watch this show. What would be your advice to them? What would you tell them? How did you excel? Because people are going to say, I want to be like Dr. Badero, I want to be like him, I want to excel just like he did. What would be your advice to those people who are listening?
The first thing is you really have to believe in yourself. Believe in yourself that whatever anybody can do, I always believe that show me something that somebody has done, give me half of the resources, and I should be able to do twice as much. And if you want to do something, find out the steps that is needed. Knowledge is the key. For you to go from here to a different town, you're going to do MapQuest, look at the internet and find out the path to get there. Once you know the steps to get there, okay, then plan your time and plan your resources and the way you're going to attack all the steps so that you can get from point A to point B. It's not good to do something blindly. If you want to come to this country and you want to be a doctor, first you have to be a licensed doctor in your country. Secondly, you have to do the exams. Third, you have to get accepted to residency program. Fourth, you have to excel in that residency program. And when you finish, you have to take your board exam and be board certified, and you can be licensed. The steps are mapped out. The good thing about the United States, if they map out the steps for you to go from point A to point B, there's no way you can circumvent it. That's why the system works. So if you already know what needs to be done, plan your time, put your effort into it, and really focus twice a day. When you wake up in the morning, ask yourself, where am I going? What am I doing today? When you get to bed at night, what have I done today? Did I cover all the stuff that I'm supposed to cover today? And what am I going to do tomorrow? When you wake up in the morning, again, ask yourself twice a day, know where you are, where you're going, and what you need to do to get there.
I hear you speaking about excellence and culture of excellence and being competitive. You also did talk about your years in college in Ife. You talked about being competitive amongst your classmates, and that kind of made you guys excel. What do you see that is lacking now? What is the generational gap that we have right now? Because I'm not saying that it's not in our young kids now, but what do you think is lacking in the children of today?
I think that when kids come from background where they're not so privileged and they are struggling parents, and they have a good foundation and they have the potential to do very well, the motivation to excel is higher than when kids get to a situation where they're not really struggling. The parents are either middle class or upper middle class or upper class. They don't see the need to struggle. I see it among children of most of my friends, and even when I tell my children that, look, if you tell me that you're having a problem in this subject, did you look at the textbook? They want the shortcut. They want to go to class and try to understand the concept from the teacher, but there's a reason why you were given the textbook. If you want to do the questions in the textbook and you go straight to the question and you're leaving out the narrative and the first few pages of the concept, how are you going to do well? So when I pick the book and I want to teach her and say this is how you should do it, she's scratching her head that that's the long way, but that's the way that we know. So for kids of today, because of improvement in standard of living, improvement in technology, improvement in the basic things in life, the drive for them to try to excel is not there. Number two, there's a lot of distractions from all of these kids. The internet, the YouTube, the music, the gratification that is there for them now, especially in developed countries like the United States, and the problem with the parents being able to discipline the child. Even in public school, they cannot be disciplined. I remember that when I was in school, if I did something wrong, my teachers would whoop us. Right. And if I go home and complain, I get even more whooping at home. Mm-hmm. They always say it takes a village to raise a child. When I was in secondary school, when they took us back to school, they took all our street clothes. All we had is our white khaki and the brown khaki. So if you break the bounds, you're going to be picked out like a sore thumb. People will see you in the town and they're going to find a way to tell the principal that one of your students is in town.
Just looking at your wall of fame, I'm going to call this a wall of fame.
Thank you.
You've gotten a lot of recognition from all kinds of organizations. Recently, you were awarded the Humanitarian Award by the Brooklyn Rotary Club.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about the awards that you've received and maybe show us some of what you have?
I owe some of the recognition that I have had for all the work that I've put in 30 years of being a doctor to, a number of people. First, my parents for, giving me the foundation to excel in everything that I do and putting all my effort and believing that I can, if I think about moving the mountains, if I put the effort, I can move mountains. Secondly, I owe a lot to my mentors, people that instill, a sense of discipline, gave us the right instructions, and even when we did not have enough teachers, the principal in my secondary school used to tell us, you don't have to keep on looking for excuses. You have your syllabus, you have your textbook, you can study and do well on your own. So my mentors have a lot to do with that. Particularly now, when I got into college, my friends were people that we actually competed against each other. And every single one of those friends that we studied together and we took the exam separately because we want to beat each other, everyone has done extremely well. I think they say, show me your friend and I can tell you who you are. A vast majority of my friends that we were in college together and were in high school together, that we compete against each other and brought out the best in each other, have also done extremely well. So I say to all my patients and friends, when they come and see all the plaques on my wall, I owe a lot to all the schools that I went to in Nigeria, particularly University of Ife. And I said to people, you look on the wall, the most beautiful certificate there, definitely, you can see. The most colorful certificate there is the one from University of Ife. And of all the awards that I've gotten, a few years back, I got the University of Ife Distinguished Alumni Award, which was presented by one of the ex-president of the Nigeria, Chief Ernest Chonekon. And when this guy was reading my profile, Chief Chonekon, and he found that I was an interventional cardiologist, that we can fix clogged arteries in people's heart without cutting them open, without putting them to sleep. We can go through their thigh, we can go through their wrist, and we can thread very tiny wires all the way down to the heart and relieve the obstruction. He was looking at me with disbelief that, is that what you do? He said he just had it done in London, that he was lying down on the table and he's looking at his eye on the TV monitor and he sees a little snake that's going up there to fix the blockage. I said, yes, that's what I do. So the Great Ife Alumni Award is one that I would always cherish for the rest of my life, because some of the best years of my life was in University of Ife. Not only was it a beautiful campus, it was a very, very, very nice experience for all of us. And this is why we still, every time we talk about Ife, many of us are filled with emotion. So University of Ife, which was given to me in 2003, is a permanent record of Library of Congress, which recognized the work that I have done, taking care of our own people in our community. A number of my friends, they come to New York, they come to the inner city, get all their training, and they opt to go to more ritzy areas where the demographics are kind of different. But I took the conscious effort to believe that I got the training from here. We learn from all these patients that have a lot of diseases and pathologies. If we don't stay back and take care of our people and take care of these same patients, then we're not really doing them a lot of service. And I could have a more ritzy lifestyle, much easier professional work schedule, but I opted to take the bulls by the horn. I did my training here. Of all the people that we trained together, I was the only one that stayed behind and started my practice in Brooklyn. For that, I got recognition at the United States Congress. This is an award by the New York State Assembly for dedicated work to our community right here in Central Brooklyn. And this is an award from St. Anthony's Grammar School, Ishuri Jabomoshi, which we used to call Obaguda, because some of our teachers were Catholic priests. I was surprised that I got a mail around the Christmas time that has the insignia of the White House, Washington, D.C., addressed to Dr. Oluyemi Bidero, 108 19 Flatlands 8th Street, which is the house that I stay in Brooklyn. Thinking it was a junk mail, I was talking to somebody on the phone and I was taking some address down on that same envelope. And then after my phone conversation, I looked at the envelope again. I was about to toss it into the garbage because we get a lot of junk in the United States. Something just told me to open it up. And I was really, really beside myself when I found a card from the President of the United States, a Christmas card with the White House, one of these offices, maybe Oval Office, with the seal of the most powerful man in the United States that says, "Merry Christmas to Dr. Oluyemi Bidero," signed Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Sasha Melia, and even their dog, Bo. Now, every year since then, every Christmas, I get a card from the president. Now, so a magazine called the Network Journal that highlights the top black doctors in New York City. They have a biannual edition. Every 2 years, I think they come up with their best doctors based on their research. I was on the cover of this magazine, and I think you can still see it on my wall over there. This one I like also. On the wall, what we call the Hall of Fame, the Castle Connolly, is perhaps one of the most valued award and recognition that a doctor can have. And the Castle Connolly Guide named me as the #1 interventional cardiologist in the County of Kings. Following that is a plaque by US News and World Report, which is on my wall over there. US News and World Report rates hospitals and doctors as the best in the world, and we were also recognized. I was recognized as the top interventional cardiologist in New York metro area. So it goes on and on. There is a Consumer Research Council in California that looked at the best doctors in the United States, and from the year 2007 to date, every year my name comes up as top cardiologist in the United States. And this is this plaque that you see right here, the NIDO, for dedicated service to our community. There's a number of other awards all over the place.
For his outstanding service to humanity, Dr. Oluyemi Bidero has been recognized and conferred with awards by the Brooklyn Bridge Rotary Club Humanitarian Award. He was also conferred with Excellence in Service Award by African Diaspora Awards, ADA, in New York.
It's indeed a pleasure to be here tonight to receive this recognition. I first want to thank the organizers of this event for this recognition and for putting this event together. I was here last year and I was very, very impressed by how it was conducted and the caliber of people that were invited at that time. A number of people will come to me and they say, "Why do you focus on fixing the heart?" And I remember when I was a little kid, somebody told me that there was a famous robber by the name of John Sortin. And when they go to him and say, "Why do you rob the bank?" And he says, "That's where the money is." Coming from the shores of Nigeria over 20 years ago to the United States to study in vitro fertilization, I realized that the heart is where the health is. And, I learned a long time ago that some people sit on the fence and wait for things to happen, and others get off the fence and make things happen. We've been challenged tonight to look for the greatness in Africa, to not sit on the fence, to get off and make things happen. We should see opportunities in every difficulty and not the other way around. So when I see my patients and they say, "Tell us, why do you like the heart so much?" I tell them jokingly that when I was in college some of my patients, some of my friends, and they were very smooth and they were very, very suave. They broke so many hearts. Their hearts were broken too by some women. And I figured I could make up for whatever they did by becoming a cardiologist. So I tell my patients, when it comes to matters of the heart, I get to the heart of the matter, literally. And getting to the heart of the matter, I want to dedicate this award to my two of my hearts are in the audience. My daughters, Dara, please stand up and let them see you. And Femi, this is for you. Femi, please stand up and let them recognize you. Femi, please. Okay, please, ladies and gentlemen, these are my hearts. Thank you very much for having me.
They know my story. From old dog studio, I be hustle to work. Me and Siri. From old dog studio, we been hustle to work. My people dead, my people.
Dr. Yemi Badero was met privately by the President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, with 4 other outstanding Nigerians in Washington, D.C. recently.
Repeated success is by no means accidental. If you see somebody that whatever they do, they achieve success, it's not a fluke. They have a set of principles and ideals that guide them. And they have a determination and doggedness that tells them that failure is not an option. So repeated success in anything you do is by no means accidental. So you have to have some type of rules and regulations for yourself and a working culture that sees you through a lot of obstacles. Okay? I'm grateful to America for giving me the skills that I have and giving me the opportunity to be able to serve people here. But I'm more grateful to Nigeria for setting the foundation and starting me on the course that has seen me thus far. So, and I thank you, gentlemen and lady, for being here and giving us this opportunity to share with other people, part of our life story. Thank you very much. It's been a good experience.
So we just want to say thank you for what you're doing, what you've done in the American community and the Nigerian community as well, and what you're going to do in the future. We're really proud of you, and you are one of the best Nigerians, at least that I know. Keep up the good work.
On behalf of NABNTV, New Africa Broadcasting Network, and its crew, thank you for watching.